It's still AM Saturday Live, and I'm joined in the studio this morning by a leadership and relationship coach, a life coach as well. He is a motivational speaker. No, I don't like to use that for him. He's a preacher of the word, and he is a friend of the house. Is my brother, and indeed, he's somebody I'm always proud to associate with, and he is Fola Daniel. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Yes,
Good morning.
I know that you've not had not even 5 minutes sleep since last night, but don't worry, you know that's what you
We'll
are
get some
called.
rest eventually.
You will. Okay, so this morning we're going to be talking about finance, relationship, and leadership as veritable tools in nation building, particularly state development. Whew. Finance.
Yes. So
Relationship
that's
and
all
leadership.
loaded. that's
I know that we are
loaded.
not going to exhaust it today,
Yeah.
but it's going to be in 2 parts.
Yeah.
So we're starting off today.
Yeah.
So let's hit it.
I think I like to hit it off from relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah,
So we
because-
should rearrange it.
Yes.
Relationship, finance, leadership, or should it be relationship,
Relationship, leadership, finance.
Okay. Relationship,
Leadership,
finance. So we've
Yes.
rearranged it. So,
So-
let's have your take on why you had to rearrange it.
Okay, so the thing is, when we put money ahead of everything, you're going to crush people, and you're not going to get the right relationships. But when you have the right relationships, leadership becomes easier, or when you value relationship, it becomes easier to lead people, and getting money out of them will not be difficult.
Wow.
Take a look at 2 different countries. Let's just take Nigeria and let's take the United States, or let's take Nigeria or the United Kingdom. Why is it that in those other countries, it's easier for the leaders to get taxes
From the
compared
people.
to Nigeria? It's simply about the systems and the structures that are already in place that makes people believe that for this system and structure to continue to work, I have to pay my taxes. Why do they have that mindset? They believe that the government values them. What's the situation in Nigeria? People don't believe that the government values human lives and that relationships are very important regardless of who you are, whether you have money or you don't have money. So that's the exact reason we need to reorder the whole thing. It's first of all relationships, then leadership, then finance. We are wired by God to be interdependent and not to be absolutely dependent or independent of one another.
Okay.
Nobody, and I repeat, nobody is self-made. It speaks of arrogance for anybody to say, I'm a self-made millionaire, I'm self-made this, I'm self-made that. Nobody is self-made. We all thrive on relationships. And that's why it's very important for us to understand that to build this nation, it begins with the relationship we're building in our homes, the relationships we're building with our family members, the relationships we're building in our community. Before we even talk about nation building, have you realized how difficult it is to run a community on a street?
Even in your home. Just your home.
Let's even make it a little easier. Let's just say the street.
Okay.
You bring people together and say, we just want to put a gate on this street.
No, there's going to be wahala. There's going to be wahala.
Or you say, for example, we just need to do drainage on this street. Have you seen how
Why
difficult?
should we put the drainage here?
Exactly.
Of what
And
importance is that drainage?
people will
Those
tell
are the
you,
questions that will come
I
up.
don't have a car. There's no need for a drainage. People will tell you, I've already done my own drainage. Don't leave it the way it is. So don't do anything, and stuff like that. So when you realize how difficult it is to run just one street, as people living on the streets and say, let's make life easier for ourselves, then you understand that the leadership at the top is not as easy as it seems. I'm not holding brief for them. I'm not speaking for them, but it's to tell you that we're not even building that relationship at the grassroots level. So if you develop that relationship at that level, then from amongst us, leaders will have to emerge. It is people who truly love themselves, work together, see the need to coexist, that will then value the need to have a strong leader from amongst us.
All of this that you have said, I think we should dwell on the relationship angle today. Now, all of this you have said, is it achievable? Is it attainable?
Absolutely.
Because there seems to be so much distrust already. It has eaten so deep into the fabrics of nationhood, of statehood, of even family life. Do you know that these days the husband does not trust the wife does not trust the husband?
It has always been like that. It has always been there. It has always been there. Jokingly, for example, during the lockdown, a popular actress said that she sneezed, and that the moment she sneezed, the husband rolled off the bed immediately. And the wife said, "Oh, so you don't trust me? You think I have COVID?" And the guy, you know, because of the nature of his job, meets a lot of people, international travelers for that matter, and, you know, they laughed about it, but it has always been there. So we need to have a deconstruct of what relationship really is, valuing relationships. You see, if we value relationships, we will cherish integrity. So the reason we don't even cherish integrity, or it looks like it's nothing, is because we don't value relationships. If I understand that building a relationship with you is very important, then I would not focus on what to get from you right now. I would focus on the possibilities of tomorrow ahead of the gains of today. And when I focus on the possibilities of tomorrow ahead of the gains of today, I can then say, okay, I shouldn't shortchange you in this regard. Let me give you the best, hoping that I will build a relationship with you, and in the future, you'll call me for more things. So how do people make money? Anybody who is making money, billionaires understand one thing. They understand the essence of consistency and building relationship with several people. Take a look at the billionaires in the US. How did they make money? For example, look at the Amazon model. Look at the Amazon structure. Several people putting small things together, selling to so many people, and they are making money off so many people. Look at the richest man in Nigeria. What's the model? The same thing, daily household item sold to so many people. Look at the model in China. It's the same thing. Alibaba sells to several people across the Chinese nation, and that's how he makes money. So what does that tell you? It's people understanding that, look, we don't have to make this money at once. Let's in bits and pieces. But for that to happen, we need to build relationship with people. If we don't build that relationship, you can't make that instant money.
Let's take a scenario now. How can, for instance, we begin to rebuild? Because obviously there must be some relationship. There's an existing form of relationship. Okay, how can we begin to rebuild?
So that takes us back to the message that we're hearing all over, the message that we're hearing in schools, the message that we're hearing on the airwaves, the message that we're portraying as leaders in a nation. We most times let people believe that what is more important is material things. And if we're telling people that material things are more important, then nobody sees the need to build relationships. Nobody sees the need to value relationship above money, or to value relationship above instant gains. So the message on the media itself, and I'm part of the media, I keep saying it, and I keep telling the media whenever I get the chance to hammer them that we are actually promoting, how do I call it now?
Materialism?
We're promoting materialism, we're promoting vanity, we're promoting promiscuity. Take a look at most of the musicals that you see on television today. It's something that promotes vanity. So when we tell people that it makes a lot of sense to not have a good degree, or to not have an education, or that you can put your education aside, sing something that doesn't make sense and make a lot of money, how do you convince the person who is watching that relationship is important? Look at the kind of reality shows we are having. How do you convince people that relationship is more important than sleeping around or doing whatever it is that we don't...
To make millions.
Exactly. So how do we convince people? We need to censor the media more. We've been doing the gatekeeping, but it looks like the gatekeeping process in the media has been relaxed. Then in the society itself, when somebody when somebody drives a very big car,
You
All
don't
we do
query.
is salute.
Yes, we don't query the source.
Exactly. So if we continue that way, how do I convince my 6-year-old? How do I convince my 8-year-old? How do I convince teenagers around me that, look, you need to follow my own path? I've been doing this thing for more than 10 years. Yes, the money hasn't come. It's going to come eventually. And the guy looks at you and then sees another person who has done it for less than 1 year and the money has come.
And the person don't blow.
Exactly. So
Oh my.
if the pictures they are having, they are stronger pictures, they are pictures that are modeling the need to not wait.
The need to not wait.
So if that's what they're seeing all over, how do we teach relationships to those? How do we tell them to value connections? How do we tell them to wait and make sure that you deal with people with integrity?
Fola, this brings up a question in my mind.
Yeah.
Do we still have a value system in Nigeria?
We do, but we just relegated it. We do.
We do?
Yes, we do. We've just relegated it. For example, look at what played out just last week with the issue of the building collapse. And all of a sudden, some people tried to rope in the vice president. And it was just cheap. It was also easy for him to clear himself because twice he had declared his assets and he simply came out immediately and in clear language said, I have nothing to do with it. If he had not declared assets twice,
it would not be easy to wash off.
And it's not something that he's just coming to say. It's all over the internet. These are the things I have. This is how much I have. This is what I own. These are my properties. So we still have some people like that who have the integrity, but on a daily basis, we're not promoting that integrity. We're just promoting the people who have the cash to flaunt. And so long as they have the cash to flaunt, it doesn't matter where it's coming from. Whether it can be justified, whether it can be defended or not, it doesn't matter, so long as the cash is flowing. So yes, we still have few people with integrity. Well, I wouldn't say few, because it would then remind me of the case of Elijah in the Bible, who said that I alone am left. Jezebel has killed all the other prophets.
And God told him that
there are 7,000 prophets.
Still 7,000.
So
not the only one.
I believe that technically speaking, Nigeria still has the 7,000 people with integrity somewhere that are yet to be corrupted, that are yet to be tainted with any dint of corruption in any way. So
why aren't those ones coming out to
they are not coming out
reshaping this whole
situation? They are not coming out because they're constantly being intimidated. They're not coming out because we are not reinforcing their values.
Fola, let me ask you, why should I be intimidated by doing when I know that I am doing what is right, I am on the right path, and what you're doing is wrong? Why should you intimidate me?
The Yoruba speakers who are listening would have heard what they call agidi talika. And for those who don't understand Yoruba, that simply means
a poor man's
stubbornness. So you don't have the results to show me. You are telling me integrity pays. And the guy who has results to show is telling me this is how you do it. This is how to be streetwise, street smart. Who do you think the other person will follow? They look at you and just say, oh, your Mr. Integrity, what has it brought you so? What has it gotten you so far? So they will tell us you just have a gidi talika. So that's the thing. And in places where you want to speak, and you know that even when you hear things, and people will back up these things and tell you things like money is a defense.
Money is a defense.
And that it's even in the Bible. And then they will tell you it answers all things. And it's in the scripture. So when people have the resources to flaunt, how do you expect the people who don't have the resources to flaunt, who simply have a name, how do you expect them to say that, look, this is the way? And the society as a whole, the general nation does not promote integrity.
Okay, a few days ago, it was rife on social media that Obi Kubana was called in by the EFCC for questioning, and that he spent 12 hours or thereabout. And at the end of the day, we saw the EFCC officials taking selfie with him.
It was also a fake news.
Okay.
And I'll tell you clearly it's fake news because if you look at that picture, there's an image, there's a door behind the picture.
Yes.
And the emblem of the emblem on that door is that of an eagle. And if you look at the burial of 2 people in that picture,
It wasn't the EFCC.
you would see that it's that of the Nigerian military. So it was clearly not the EFCC. However, maybe let's take it from this way. People who have been questioned or their sources of wealth is being questioned. And we see them gallivanting all over the place, and people who should be questioning their sources of wealth are still rolling with them. How does that speak well for our nation? It definitely doesn't speak well for our nation. But the bigger problem that we have in that regard is not even whether the person has a questionable source of wealth or not. It's the attitude of unquestioned loyalty to anybody's wealth.
Unquestioned loyalty.
Unquestioned loyalty. And I call it unquestioned loyalty because, take for example, they tell you somebody has been called in for questioning by the EFCC. And the first approach of most Nigerians is to condemn the EFCC. That tells you that a lot of people are not interested in integrity, because in other countries, when anybody is called in for questioning, the first approach is to say, let the law take its course. If the person is found guilty and the EFCC can prove that this person was found guilty, we don't have to call it witch hunt. The question is, for example, you say, oh, somebody say you stole 10 billion as an assumption.
Yes.
You are saying he's witch hunt. That is not the question of whether he's witch hunt or not. The question is,
did you steal
10 billion?
10 billion?
Don't come and say, no, they are witch hunting him because he's a good man, because he's doing so many things in our community. Did you steal? That should be our approach. If anybody says, we have called this guy in for questioning, no matter how much you love him, no matter how much you respect him, regardless of what he has done for you, what would tell you that we have integrity as a nation, or that we want this nation to progress, is that we all, first of all, wait and watch what the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission will come out with. And when they come up with any allegation, he has lawyers.
Substantiate it.
That's the job. Exactly. In law, there's what they call the burden of proof. So it's the job of the lawyers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to prove that he has done what they say he did. If there is any allegation, then his lawyers will now come up and say, no, he didn't do it. All of these things are just baseless accusations, and then they ask the courts to please throw it out for lacking merit. That must be, until we take that approach as a nation, and not rent drummers and dancers to go to courts, to go and meet people who have clearly stolen money, we're not going to move forward as a nation.
And have Ashebi for them as
well. It's unheard of, and nobody can understand that system where you rent drummers, you rent singers, you rent dancers, and with Ashebi.
So in other words, we have a system of celebrating mediocrity, criminality, corruption, and all that is not.
Questionable sources of wealth.
So how do we begin to set our value system back?
By the textbook definition or the textbook solution is simply to change the message that we are reinforcing. But that is not going to happen until, for example, we did hope, and I'll say this carefully, we did hope that the body language of the sitting president was going to change a lot of that. Sadly, it hasn't. But we're going to need a brutal leader, and I carefully use that word, brutal leader, to change this nation. And when I say a brutal leader, it's going to be a brutal leader in democracy who will step on toes and not look back at the toes that he stepped on. A brutal leader who would put people in jail for being lavish. Not that you stole the money, you own the money, but you were lavish.
You are sending the wrong messages out.
Exactly. So until people start going to jail for being lavish in this nation, the ones who are truly stealing will not hide.
But what about my human rights? I own the money. I can spend in the way I like.
That's why I said we will need a brutal leader to make things right.
You see, the truth is, it's my right. It's my money.
Exactly,
I own it.
Exactly why things will never change. Exactly why it will never change. You get the point. So if we want to change this, we want to change this nation. Take for example, I was driving yesterday, and one of the things I say when I drive is I still can't fathom how people have enough money to buy a good car, but don't have a little enough to buy common sense.
Fola.
Because when they are driving, you see them throwing litters all over the road as they are driving. And I'm asking myself, is this the responsibility of the government? Or is it the government
No,
that
the
will fix
government
this
will
as
hold
well?
your hand now. Don't throw it on the floor.
People are on the highway. They want to eat in their car. They are washing their hand on the road. They throw their hands out of their car, wash their hands on the road, and then withdraw their hands to eat in their car. And then they finish whatever it is they are eating,
And
throw it on the
out.
road. Not minding the fact that another driver is coming, what you're throwing could land on the windshield of the other driver. Beyond the fact that it could land on the windshield of the other driver, if it's slippery, I could ride on it and slam my brakes, then the brakes don't catch, then I glide instead of being able to stop. So you can cause accidents for other people. Even if it doesn't cause any accidents, what about keeping this country clean? Then you say that, oh, you go to another country, everywhere is clean. Nigeria is so dirty. Who is making it dirty? Is it the government that is throwing litter all over the place?
No, Buhari came all the way from Abuja to Lagos to throw the litter now.
So those things, both the government and the individuals have the collective responsibility of fixing this nation.
So we're going to take off.
Sorry, let me say this. Is our collective responsibility to behave with common sense?
Well, that is below the belt, though.
That's why I say it's our collective responsibility.
To behave with common sense.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to be taking off from this next week. Rebuilding the value system.
Yeah.
How to go about it. What exactly is even that value system? What are those values? So we need you to itemize
redefine them.
Let us define the values.
Yes.
Let us know these values.
True.
Then let us find out if the values still exist. True. Or we have to reinvent them.
Yeah.
Viewers, you have heard it from Fola Daniel. It's a huge one. I'm left in awe. Even me, I am wondering, Busola, where goest thou? But really, like he said, are there still true and good people? Like the Bible said, there are about 7,000 left that I have preserved for myself. Are you part of those that have been preserved to bring this nation to a good stead? We'll take up from there next week, Saturday. Fola Daniel, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
I'm going to be expecting you on Saturday.
No problem.
Thank you. Okay, viewers, remember it is, like he has said, a collective responsibility of everyone, the governed, the governed, and the government to behave with common sense. Let us use our sense. Bye-bye.